Hi everyone, delonewolf here. Welcome back for some more EVE Online. In today's video we are going to do another run for the blueprint copy business. This is actually a request from one of the comments. Wanted me to talk a little bit more and show you guys the BPC business that I have up and running. So blueprint copies, basically you can't just make any of them. Obviously small cheap ones like munitions, small ships, weapons, Tech 1 weapons and things like that will not yield you a big profit. But once you get into the bigger stuff, capital ships, structures, structure modules even, components for all of these things like capital ships, then we do start to get into the blueprints that require pretty serious investment and for which there is a demand at a decent price. Now that investment may seem like it will take a very long time to earn them back, regardless of the price that you get for the BPCs, and that's absolutely true. So you do have to look at this as a long-term business plan for EVE Online, but it's pretty damn passive. All you really need is a station or a structure where you can make your blueprint copies, and then of course a market where to sell them. So for me, that station is out there in Lower Devil. There is one NPC station where you can do research and just research. You can make copies, but you can also improve blueprints, increasing their material efficiency and their time efficiency. Now this is coming at a little bit of a cost, definitely lower margins, but the big advantage, an NPC station, so my blueprint originals that are worth quite a lot of ISK are very safe down there. You can do this from your own structure, big advantage, it's faster, it's cheaper. The risk, of course, a war deck, if they blow up your structure while you've got blueprints that are making copies or something like that, yeah, you can actually lose them. So there is a little bit of risk involved, but that's the cost-benefit analysis that you always have to make in EVE Online. And then for the market, obviously I'm making all of this stuff in a MAR space at the moment, so a MAR trade hub there is my number one sell place, but you could also have other options. You can join a big alliance and perhaps there's a market for you. You can look for local markets close to low-sec, close to null-sec. You don't necessarily have to go for these large trade hubs. So here is the station Cameltech in Lower Devil. You can see down here I've got blueprints for capital construction parts, capital ships here, all the carriers, double Thanatos. A lot of these were actually a gift, a very, very generous gift from one of the viewers, but you can see here we also have structure parts. These can actually make you a little bit of ISK as well, although they're pretty easy to make, and in the current market, of course, it's not that great. Down here we get some Moros Naglfar Revelation, so we've got some Dreadnought blueprints, and then the rest of them. Oh, here's some Orca blueprints, which I've slowed down on. It does look like that market has cooled off quite a little bit, but if I go for my active jobs, there we go. This is what I've actually been focusing on. Then we got Charon, Fenrir, Obelisk, two Orcas right there, then also the Providence, so obviously all the freighters, and then I'm actually doing all the structures at the moment. Main reason, well, you may have already heard about that, but with the industry changes, stuff like carriers, dreadnoughts, super carriers, probably even Titans are barely economically viable at the moment to produce, so the demand for those BPCs is very low. On the other hand, the ganking situation has become more profitable for us BPC producers since it's become cheaper to gank large ships like, let's say, freighters, orcas and things like that. And so as a result, this is something that I'm making. And then the next one, it's potentially a little bit of a gamble, but yeah, it's structures. The war is raging. There's a lot of structures being destroyed, and despite the fact that cores now make it very risky to run your own structures as a solo player or in a tiny corporation, for big groups they will want that infrastructure up and running. So this is what I am producing at the moment, including the Tatara. This is actually a purchase that I made myself. So this is for like a large structure that could yield a market. That's like, you know, the best you can get pretty much for one of these refineries. It's pretty damn cool. You can see it only takes 7 days and 10 hours, but also 4 million ISK for a single copy of one of these. But I don't think that many individual players have Tatara BPOs. Let's see, can I do view market details? Probably nothing that's gonna be in range here, or yeah, 40 billion ISK is actually the price. Yeah, and that's 348, so that has to be an NPC order. So yeah, 40 billion ISK in investment, 4 million cost for producing a single BPC. Obviously, we are not going to make like earn back the BPO, but it's cash flow. I'm slowly making ISK on every single purchase, so this is definitely something that I'm doing. Then the one I have all of the medium ones. So here is the Astrahus. Can make 2 copies actually, costing only 1.5 million, and that's also done in 7 days. Then we get the Athenor right here, costing, look at that, 2 jobs, only 700,000 ISK. That's definitely a cheap one, and 1.2 million for 3 copies of this of the what the hell writer blueprint right there. These are investments that I have made myself, thinking that when these first came out they would be popular. For a while they were, and so in the long term now I'm very happy that I've made these investments, even though I'm not sure, maybe for the medium structures that I have at this point, probably earned them back, because I was amongst the first to make BPCs for these as well, and I actually managed to sell a couple at really high prices. But the Tatara, it's been a bit more of a problem. Then I like the freighters, which is 8 days and 20 hours, costing 1 million to create a BPC, 1.1 million for the Orca as well. So that gives you a little bit of an idea as to the cost. And yeah, I just do this around every 10 days or so. I just reset, and then depending on what happens with the sales, I might decide to switch it up, perhaps do a run with dreadnoughts, do a run with carriers and things like that. Now you could scale all of this up with more characters or even more accounts if you want to. I myself am a 1 account Andy, and I just tend to stick really to my main, which is that I log this account in, play a little bit, do what I want to do, log out at the end of the day or at the end of my play session. And did I actually move the BPOs in here? Yeah, I did. BPCs in here. Yeah, I did. So we've got a couple of things for sale, and let's go to Omar then for the second part of this BPC business, which again I have to do like once every 10 days. So to me this does count as a pretty passive ISK making scheme in EVE Online at the moment. Let's see, I also kind of want to clean my ship here, doesn't look very nice. Let's do that. Let's maybe also run Hunter's Quiver, change it up a little bit, not running a pirate skin, and there we go. So really all you want, or all you need in order to do this, is of course the ISK to invest in BPOs, and then actively playing the game when these come out is a very, very big advantage. As I've said, when they first came out, those structure blueprints and then creating copies of those was a very, very lucrative bit of business, and that does give you a very nice head start in recuperating some of your initial costs. I couldn't exactly tell you the prices that they've gone for, but if I'm not mistaken, I've sold, like, let's see if I can find a shop for this, like right at the beginning, I've sold like Astrahus blueprints, BPCs, no research, no nothing, no improvements, no nothing, for like 30 million ISK and things like that. And then if I look at the market details, and way up at the very beginning, yeah, this is a 6 billion ISK investment. If you keep making BPCs long enough, you will actually eventually recuperate that investment. And then of course the nice part is every other BPC that you sell after that point, it's just pure profit. It's really starting to print ISK for you that you basically get for other people that don't have the means or don't want to make that type of an investment, which is for the very long term. That is of course definitely a part of this. The BPC business is for more established players or players that are in the game for the long term there. So hopefully CCP can come out with other stuff. There's actually BPOs that maybe I should have bought, although they're NOSEC specific, that have come out like decently recently, right? Whenever they come out with like new modules, like the item that pings to decloak people every 15 minutes and things like that. Yeah, those are BPOs that you could have invested in. Making copies of those will eventually, and especially at the very beginning, will be very valuable. Then it goes down in value. Eventually you get enough competition for that. But during that period, you can recuperate quite a bit of your cost by being amongst the first. And then after that, it's of course about keeping it going, which is what I do this way. I'll take a quick look as well at what we can expect here for the sales. I can create 12 more contracts. I've got more BPCs up and running right here available than that. So we're definitely building up our stack at the moment, which is quite normal. My contracts, let's see. No, outstanding. Whoops, didn't click on that. Let's go. Outstanding, please. Can't I? Oh, it's not really letting me. Okay, let's reset the window. Finance. Contracts, my contracts, and I want to see the outstanding ones. There we go. So what's still not selling at Norse? Fenrir, Orca blueprints, Providence blueprint, Raitaru, Tatara, and a Thanatos blueprint. So even the Tatara still struggling. 6 days for these, 14 days for these. You can see once a week, once every 10 days is when I make a run. And when I've got reserves and I happen to still be around here, I sometimes also like refill these orders as they sell. But this is one thing that you have to understand as well. The blueprint copy business, it's not on the market, and so there's not like an endless amount of them that, or next to endless amount of them that you can put up in like sell orders on the market or something like that. No, this is through the contracts. It's a little bit more limited in scope, but it's also a lot lower in taxes, so it has that advantage. So we're almost there, and then we'll move the blueprints, and then we'll have to decide on what we want to sell most. And your outstanding contracts can of course give you a little bit of an idea. I'm still going to make a push for these freighters. I do think that eventually we will get on the right price for those. So Tatara maybe not at the Norse or still there. Raitaru, those could probably be sold. Right, 3, we're down to 1 there. And then Astrahus, apparently those seem to be gone. So probably the more defensible structures may be what people are focusing on if you're solo or in a small corporation. That may be something that I should have thought about. I went with really cheap Raitaru, but that's also very easy to destroy. It was very specifically to compress stuff, and so that's for it gets extra bonuses and lower fuel cost for the refining capability, but an Astrahus becomes way more defensible. And so if you absolutely want a structure, maybe going defensive is the right way to go. So move these to the hangar where I've got lots of other blueprints. But you can see here carriers definitely not selling. So this is the result. Archon blueprints, Chimera blueprints, Thanatos blueprints from contracts that have lapsed because at the moment no one is buying them. And this is the reason why of course I switched to stuff like this with the structures and the freighters most of all. So let's start with what I think is selling the best. We haven't seen any Astrahus blueprints, so let's take a quick look at what's happening in the station on these. We remember it costs us around 1 million ISK to produce 2 of them in a single job, so they're selling for around 3 million in the MAR. First 2 sell orders here, and then we go up to 9.5 million, so there's definitely not that much. So my plan is I'm going to try and get like a definite sell on 2 of them for a little bit of profit at 2.9 million. Oh, cancel. Create contract, please. There we go. And this is really the game that you have to play here. You have to decide how you want to play this market. So for me, I'm going to start here. No, that's a little bit too much. 2.9 million, undercutting everyone in a MAR itself. And then I'm going to make a second one of these as well. Like that. In my experience, it does help, right? Those round numbers, not that smart. Go for the 0.9, and that does tend to actually get a little bit of more traction. And then the other two, we're actually going to go right in the middle between these two. So I'm going to aim for like 4.9 million, I think, giving it a good chance to still be sold. If someone comes in for 4 of them, then we're next in line, but almost like doubling our profits. So 4.9 million, that's for the other two. And I will see in around 10 days if they sell or not. So 4.5. All right, let's do that. Then I'm going to put up one of each freighter, although they don't seem to move that well at the moment. I'm kind of hoping that we can still get a decent price for those. So let's see what this is going for. Look at that, no one is selling them. 20 million for the first BPC of a Charon. Let's take a quick look then at all regions again. See. So 8 million, 9 million is definitely doable in Jita at the moment. So yeah, I'm going to actually go straight and compete with not the very cheapest ones, but these, and I'm still making a decent amount of money. So for this round, although it is very cheap, in my usual expectation, it's this where we start real competition. 12.5, 11 million. Once you go below 9 million, things tend to sell very quickly, but you can see at the moment, it is the industry changes. Large capital ships, if we do view in industry, where is that? If I wish I could, come on. Oh, I can just double click it probably. Yeah, there we go. Because of all of this extra stuff like this, life support backup system, auto integrity preservation seals, all of these things that have been added on top of the capital construction parts, this is very, very expensive. Input cost 2 billion, output cost 3 billion. That's actually not that bad a margin at current average prices. So I'm kind of hoping that's gonna pick back up, but we maybe we're also having like a glut of all of these blueprints, because you can see that competition is quite high. But yeah, my plan for this one, we're just going to go 7.9 million, put one of each on there to scope the freighter market out and hope that we can actually trigger a couple of sales that will indicate that we might have even higher prices potentially here in Amar. So then this is something that I do from time to time. I just put all of these freighter BPCs at the same price. This is really an exploratory run for these blueprints. Just gonna take a look and see if that triggers or not. So 7.9. It's not the very cheapest, but at least it's a decent profit as well. Next. 7.9 million, so that is it for the freighters. Then I'll take a quick look at Orca as well. Let's take a look at this. See what's happening, especially in Amar, because I'm still trying to sell some of these. So if you look for mine, yeah, look at that. Look at how much pressure there is on these larger PPCs at the moment. I was selling them for 7.5 million, and at the time, I'm 100% sure of this, this was the cheapest price for these blueprints. But quite a few sellers coming in as well, driving the price down to around 4 million ISK, which is like maybe 3 to 3.5 million still in profit on a single, no, it's actually just 3 million in profit on a single blueprint, showing how much pressure there is. But these could ramp up very quickly for me, so I'm actually gonna put 2 of them up at 3.9 million just to try and get a little bit of product to move there and see if that, no, actually I'm just gonna do 1 of them and see if those actually still, if this one actually might still sell. And then let's take a quick look at carriers, although I don't expect that to be very good news. Current station, yeah, just no availability. I still have the cheapest one at 7.5 million as well, but you know, undercutting the rest by quite a little bit, and yet it's just not triggering. Let's take a quick look at the Chimera blueprints, see what's happening over here. Yeah, 20 million, but you can see how that availability now has just completely dwindled. And this is even worse than what we saw in the Orcas, where there's a lot of competition. People are desperately trying to dump their Orca blueprints because that's still high-sec available. Lots of players have an interest in making an Orca, but for carriers, no one is even bothering with making and bringing these contracts to the market at this point. It's just ridiculous. And then if there is one, there's an auction that starts at 1.2 million. So that's also a way that you could go, of course. But I tend to ask for a price and try to be competitive that way. But yeah, this is the situation for the carriers. That's all there is available in Amar, so these are not worth it to explore and bring on the market. So I'm actually going to take a look at what's happening in the rest for the structures then, and make some decisions here. Here are the Tara BPCs. Look at that, 45 million. That's actually pretty expensive, I would say, considering the cost that we put in. And the one is still on sale, so I'm not going to compete with my sell order. Or we could maybe look at all regions and see how low they get somewhere else. Yeah, 44 million in Jita. So that's interesting. If it would trigger, then it's going to be right here in Amar. That should already be the sale. We still have 2 weeks left, so we're not going to go here. Then I'll take a look at the Raitaru blueprints. Yeah, these also quite a bit of competition. 2 million somewhere else, 4.9 million here. I'm still trying to sell one for 5 as well. Well, let's just go 3.9, put up a couple, try to move some product again. Yeah, we can definitely do 2 of those. So we'll do 3.9. Next, finish yes. Don't want to risk making a copy of the contract just yet. Let's just do them one at a time. Yes, and then we'll also take a quick look at the Athenor, which is not that bad a blueprint either. 15 million in Amar, so mine are still cheap. This was kind of, when I was putting these up, and you can see that right here, cheapest price in Amar, not bad. 15 million for an Athenor. That's a very, very nice margin, but the product just isn't moving. So we're once again going to take a look at the prices in all regions. Yeah, just in Jita, they're going for 4 million, 4.8 million. So I'm actually going to put one up at like 5 million, undercut myself by quite a little bit, but just to see if there is still a market even at these lower prices. This should get snagged up very quickly. But this also shows you guys that at the moment it is very, very hard times in the blueprint copy business for capital ships and for structures, and this is the result of the industry changes, where we had a massive rush on industry during the month of April. And what has been built? Well, capital ships, freighters, perhaps even structures as well, although those are basically suffering from the changes to structures, with the cores making Vortex way more ubiquitous whenever you deploy a structure. But I'm keeping up with it. We're just slowly trying to find our footing, trying to see what works, what doesn't work. Carriers, obviously, that's completely dead at the moment. Freighters are still moving somewhat. Structures, actually a high price, but not a lot of velocity in these. And I'm kind of hoping that the Orca can still find its way into the market as well. It is still your go-to end-game mining ship at the moment. Unfortunately, CCP may nerf that, as they have announced a balance pass on all the mining ships as well. But this is something that I do every 10 days or so, trying to make a little bit of extra ISK, trying to get my BPO investments to give me back a little bit, and it does still work. You saw that right there, 12 I think it was, contracts that I could still make, although I'll be honest, a couple of these were like lapsed freighter blueprints that I had to cancel over the last week as well. Yeah, at the moment sales are very, very slow. Then you can get back to your main station, which is what I'm going to do now for a little bit of exploration. If you want to get into this, I'll be honest, making the investment in like the carrier BPOs and things like that at the moment doesn't make that much sense. I would honestly just save my ISK and wait and hope that CCP comes out with new blueprints for more stuff. This will generally be focused on nullsec, but they have said that they're going to make for changes as well, so that you can so that nullsec empires will be able to decide which resource they want to make more available in their own space. All of that could require new structures, new maybe additions to structures and things like that, that perhaps will also mean new BPOs. And when CCP introduces BPOs, it's good to have the fund so that you can make the investments. Believe me, being in on day one and being able to sell amongst the first BPCs is a very, very nice bit of business. Gives you that nice head start to recuperating your investment. And after that, like now, of course, yeah, in bad times it's very slow. In better times you can just start to eke out a nice profit. I enjoy it, something that's definitely pretty unique to EVE Online, this BPC business that we can run, and it's part of the way that I play EVE. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and as always, I'll see you next time.